Good evening and welcome to the penultimate show for Prosper. I am your host, Lockefox. This is episode number 99. It kills me that we have come so far and we are almost to the end here, but the show must go on. It is great to have everyone here tuning in live. So let's go ahead. Let's go into the show information one. Once again, I am Lockefox. This is the Eve Prosper Show. You can keep in touch with us. All you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, if you want to get my ear about anything, you should join our Discord. Links to join should be down in the doobly-doo down below. Good news is this is episode 99. The bad news is episode 100 is going to be our last. So, just a bit of a schedule tweak. Do keep an eye on Twitter. I am going to be looking over my schedule this next week. I would rather do episode 100 on a weekend so that both our European and US friends can all tune in together. So do keep posted there. I don't have it nailed down quite yet. I'm thinking 1800 Saturday, not this Saturday, but the following. So keep an eye there. Number two, if you enjoy the show, if you want to support us, few things you can do. One, don't unsubscribe, because if you enjoy the graph porn, if you enjoy the code work, if you enjoy the data science work of this, if you are looking to grow some of those code chops, maybe make a few extra bucks IRL with some new talents, you should keep subscribed, because I'd like very much to turn this into not quite a code camp, but maybe a less serious tutorial, editorial sort of thing. If you want to support me in that move, keep subscribed, join our Discord. There will be more information soon. Two, if you want to make sure that our services keep online, do throw a buck or two in our Patreon at patreon.com/EveProsper. We're using the last bit of run out here in June to shore up our options for hosting in perpetuity. And again, I hate to pick on the guy, but Eve Guides went down last week thanks to a PayPal snafu. And if you want to make sure that that doesn't happen to us, we're making sure preparations are made, but every dollar goes a very long way in this hosting problem. If we have to spin up DigitalOcean stuff and whatever. And I know we do have offers to keep the stuff hosted, but this is your last chance to buy me a beer about Eve Prosper. So, and if you can't give monetarily, if you just want to support the show, do share us with all your friends. And don't forget about all the other market shows going on right now. There is Rodin on Wednesdays at 0100. That's Tuesday night US time. Is doing a very similar show to us, except he's actually trading with real money. So he's talking about what he's trading and how he's trading it. And the one and the only, the original, DeLone Wolf at Eve Talk will continue doing what he is doing. So you can keep getting your market news. I am not the only place to get it, but definitely the best, right? Let's start where we always do, with Plex, the most wonderful of commodities. Had broken. We were down at 2.7 million. It's really hard to talk about Plex and not put billion in front of it. I got to tell you guys. We had seen a break in the clouds, and then last night, I believe a sale was announced. It's not reflected here on the big chart yet, but when we get to the zoom in, you'll see that it's doing a particular number to the rest of the Plex market. Zooming all the way out to 1 year. Again, we are very, very high, and we got very, very high, very, very fast. And this is why you're supposed to step out your edibles and not do them all at once. But we're getting back into about a normal rhythm, so we could stay here at the 2650 sort of space. I'd like to see it come back down under 2.6. I don't think we'll get there with the pressure we have right now. The volumes are still pretty low, and economic pressure still keeps pointing to upward Plex prices. So if we zoom all the way in, we can see the Plex price gets announced, the prices dump. This is adjusted for a for the monthly cost of Eve, which means that we've gone from 1.4 billion a month down to 1.3 on a buy order. Lots of pressure on the buy orders to try and soak up and put a floor here on the fall. I don't think we'll get much below the 2.6 million mark here. And I still think that we are very cash rich, but I won't know anything about that until hopefully next week when the economic numbers come out. So let me do this in the right order. We're going to talk about a couple of big pieces of news when we get to them in the show. I have some words for Fozzie. I'm not sure if he'll hear them or if he'll care. It probably isn't his department. But like, this is a very short respite, in my opinion. And if you're in the market to buy, now is not a bad chance to be buying in. I don't think we'll see another good chance to buy in like this until the end of the summer. Maybe around when the Alliance tournament comes in for real and we see deals to try and juice the numbers. We might see them, but like we didn't see Plex packages during the last Alliance tournament. And I'm not sure that the bidding round has happened yet. So again, this is a really, really excellent chance to stock up into this weekend, and getting this 135 billion, 2.6-ish million Plex is a great opportunity. So, and Dirk is correcting me. Bidding has happened. So, pressure should be off for the short term, but as soon as this sale is over, I think we're going to be back up to 2627, and I think the summer, if my gut for the economic numbers in May come to pass, I think that we will be at 1.5 billion a month account costs come the end of the summer. And thank you. I did fix the graph. Thank you. Hold your applause. We get, unfortunately, while it was broken, we missed some of the best stuff when we got into that spike territory. So this is where one of the more advanced strategies I have been trying to sell, and I've been doing a terrible job selling it, so this is on me, is that Injectors and Plex are related. We know that they're related because Plex buys Extractors, and Plex is technically convertible to skill points, right? They do move together, but they don't move in lockstep. And there's opportunities here when they don't move at the same time. So this was an excellent opportunity. I think I said last week to be buying into a spike as it corrects, and the graph sort of shows that we went too low in the price. Like, this was an excellent opportunity to be buying in, waiting for the correction. We didn't see as much of that correction. So again, zoom in here, we see the crossover point here, and it's not inherently obvious in this graph. In this previous graph, that's exactly what's going on, because this is just a price to cost ratio kind of problem. And we saw that if you were just looking at Plex, you'd just say that the two of them are sort of lockstepped. And the other thing here we're seeing is that volumes are getting a little bit tight, which makes this an even better speculative opportunity and keeps us on track for an 800 million injector cost here in the next, let's say, 10 days. It's interesting to see that we are so short. This might be part of the reason why part of the Plex sale going on right now is a extra special deal on Extractors. That is not reflected here. I don't have this. This isn't smart enough to be like, oh, well, the price of Injectors is down for this week. I can't do discontinuities like that. But that might be juicing the supply here to bring us back down to 750. But I kind of expect, I still expect Injectors to be a really slow market, because Injectors are still they still have a really awful penalty curve for the majority of the player base. And okay, majority might be saying too much about it, but like, where they're a really good idea for people in the, let's say, up to 20 million skill points range. The people who have the money, the people who could be using this as an implant offset, are all north of 100 million, or all north of at least 60 million. And like that whole, there's a problem between the people who have the money to participate in the market are not the same unit of people who are most subsidized to participate in the market. So again, this is me on my soapbox saying that the penalty curve needs to be reduced. I still like there to be a penalty curve. I would just like it to be relaxed so that we can get more players in this market. It ends up being not such a bad idea, because once you're in the top bin, you're only getting 5% of any injector, and that is a terrible deal. Like, unless you're Iron Bank and you're doing it for a stunt, it's a terrible deal, right? So with that, let's just go on to market indexes. I think I've said enough about skill trading for now. Well, we can talk more about it after the show if you want to go tune in, and if you're watching this on YouTube, the live stream should be there. You can fast forward to the end. Let's talk about market indexes. Hey, look, another graph I fixed. Yay. Tuned in last week. There was a whole item list missing from the thing. Turns out we weren't pulling in extractors on our remote database, because I am good at this. Let's talk about the metrics. We were seeing a decline in ships and materials. Materials were turning around, but bad news. CCP is coming down from on high and nerfing Rorks, and doing a pretty good kick in the teeth, that we'll talk about once we get down into minerals. But not only are we seeing yields nerfed, we're seeing speeds for the drones nerfed, we're seeing respawn rates nerfed so that the availability of ore is going down. This is a pretty heavy-handed rebalance, in my opinion. And to be honest, it feels a little bit too much like FU Goons. Because to be honest, I kind of liked the high yield rates. The only downside being that it sort of screwed up the minimum wage for EVE, being a bad first impression for alphas coming into the game. I was almost willing to let that slide, because, well, there were plenty of other markets that made sense to go to. And really, if your first experience with EVE is mining, like, can we stop doing that to newbies? Can we just ignore mining for anybody who hasn't played for more than 45 days? Like, just as a community, can we just pretend it doesn't exist? So I kind of expect this number to come down a little bit, but it's going to be a trade-off of price and volume. So I think our net level will stay relatively flat, only drifting down because of lower summer activity, because people will be outside enjoying the glorious sunshine, as opposed to staying indoors and playing fake internet spaceships. The other interesting thing is the bump in the skill market and the RMT markets over the split. It's interesting to see that we dipped down in total value over the actual split, again thanks to order cancellation. This is what I'm going to attribute it to. But we've brought it way back up again. We're almost towards record highs, not just in value, but in net trade moving through the system. And actually, like, the general market numbers are looking a little bit better than I expected them to. They're starting to do a little bit of a turnaround here coming into the start of June. So we might see just a small glimmer of hope for the next, couple of weeks, as people are coming into summer vacation and getting done with finals and blowing off some steam. But I don't have high hopes for this summer. Like, and I'm hoping that the monthly economic numbers come out next week, and because ratting needs to get nerfed. So, moving on, let's talk about Total Destruction. Total Destruction is flat. Counts are down, but value is flat. I'm okay with that. That's an okay trade-off. I'd like to see like 7 to 8% more destruction than we're seeing right now. I think we're a little bit thin, especially with ISK being as cheap as it is, with that high Plex price, like being and I've gone on this rant a couple of times that the as the price of Plex grows ever higher, your risk aversion should go down. And I know that's a shitty economist thing to say, but like the raw value of your dollars keeps buying more and more ISK when the metas to PvP remain relatively flat. And I've gone on a big rant about this. We can talk more about this at the end of the show, but like the TLDR is, as Plex prices rise, why wouldn't you be willing to fly more PvP stuff? Because you could technically buy more for the same value. If we're talking in dollars. I know that not everybody can be talking in dollars. I know that this is extraordinarily shitty if you are not in the privileged class who gets to suck down delicious rat bounties for no effort. But the fact that PvP just continues to dwindle is it kind of pisses me off at the end of the day. Like it's getting cheaper and cheaper to get whelped. Why would you still be risk averse? And like, and if we put a really fine point on it, it's just a fucking video game. What do you care if some stuff gets blown up? Please go get shit destroyed. It drives the economy. Anyway, moving on to minerals. So like I said, talking about the change proposed by Fozzie in the June release, which should be coming out in very soon. We should be seeing less yield coming from Rorks, and I kind of expect this to be a 1-2 punch. The places I would be speculating. One, there should be a sell-off in skill points, because I kind of expect 20% of Rork pilots to throw their hands in the air and go, F this. When they do that, we may see another sell-off of skill points that goes along with that, where people liquidate the brains, the skill points out of Rorks and just say, screw it. Number two, we should see less volume coming to market, a general rising in prices across the board. Less on the low ends, more on the high ends is kind of what I expect. So Trit staying level at 4.5, I kind of expect it to come back to 5.0. I expect this number to drop down to about 30 billion units on the market, which should get us to just about 5.0. Now, it's an okay buy if you were in it for 4 to hold out for 5.0, 5.1. But with this buy window shrinking, I think that the opportunity to jump on this list has kind of gone out the door. Next, Pyrite. So for my tinfoil chewers in the audience, there's more than a little bit that makes me queasy here in the mineral numbers, especially now that we've seen the nerf. I had said last week that Pyrite had just been an odd duck, and there was no like correlation to as to why it all of a sudden jumped almost 20% in price. And then we get the dev post today. If I were a Gevlon style guy, like, this looks leaky as fuck. Zooming in, we saw some buyouts holding the prices low. These are pretty high volumes for a one person to be messing with. But, like, I mean, it's sneaky. And that the prices, the sell prices got all funky when and none of this got sold off to buy orders so much. Like, we see most of the action here on the sell side means that people were trying to buy out this pyrite, trying to get it into their stocks, not so much selling it off. Like, this is hinky. This is gross. And like, this is leak territory in my book. And I think it has enough headway that it actually could be a CSM leak. Now, the last time we talked about this, turns out it was more of a it was Plex driven by skill injectors. Was the last time we saw this, and everybody was losing their shit. I think this is a little more insidious, a little slower, and when we get down to Zydrine, I'll have a little bit more to back this up. Moving on, Mexilon is down, but this is a great chance to buy in if we think that all the boats will go up. Volumes are pretty high. This is a great chance for this to turn around, and getting these last orders at 70. I mean, this is your chance to get on the boat. And if you had been buying in, even though I told you guys not to, it's a pretty good chance. It's still a good chance to jump in if you're watching now. I wouldn't want to buy higher than 72 or 73 because I expect 80 to be our high point, and I really expect to hit only like 78. And yeah, this is a decent opportunity. Volumes are getting a little bit short, so we might see a hot spike in the next over Friday and Saturday. We might get just over 80, 85 just on a quick hot second. The volumes are getting nice and tight. This is a really good speculative point for a really short-term jump in. Next, Isogen. Isogen is in the dumps, and sorry to all the stepchildren for the joke last week. It just keeps dumping. Now, again, this is a pretty good chance to jump in. We've hit about the bottom where RSI would tell us we can't really fall much farther, much faster. And we got the benefit of new FOSI information saying that minerals should be coming up, should have an upwards trend. Now, nerfing Rorix, I don't think is going to do much to the Isogen price. We might get back to 51, 52, but I don't expect to get to 60, as it were. And again, you're seeing the divergence right here where the news hits the market and now people are trying to like rush in and buy. So getting these 45 buy orders, 46 buy orders, even buying sells at 47.5, I think is not a terrible idea. And aiming for a 54, 55 might be the way to go. And if this I'd be watching this volume like a hawk for the next like 36 hours, 48 hours. Because if we get under the 500 million units mark, I think that this could get much hotter, much faster. And this is a really excellent opportunity to buy in. And I know I talk a lot of shit about Isogen, but like for once, please, Isogen, just be my bro. Don't disappoint me. Noxium is down, and I expect it to come up slightly. We were at 360. We've just been bouncing around that for the last week. Supplies are pretty hot, so I expect buys to slump under 350 in the next couple of days. But again, rising tide should put us back up close to 400. This is a much harder spot to pick, given the technicals. Like, it's not super obvious. It's an okay buy-in, but this is one I would hedge. It's not as good as Mexilon. It's not as good as Isogen. And then Zydrine. Hey, would you look at that? Zydrine got bought out 3-4 days before the Fozzie blog. Ain't that strange? Ain't that weird? Ain't it weird that suddenly 100 million units just happened to leave the market 72 hours before Fozzie posts? That's strange, don't you think? I usually don't like chewing the tinfoil. I kind of do this just to be facetious because lol drama, but like, ooh, man, that does not look good. That looks super leaky. And I would be making calls. That's That's almost 4 days ahead of the announcement in something that I fully expect CSM to have been briefed upon. So I don't think Internal Affairs is going to find anybody, and if they do, it's going to be a shell of a shell. So whatever. There is no justice. But like, talk about sleazy that we lose 80 million units 4 days before the blog comes out, and we reset the price all of a sudden super high. Like, no, man, that's just, you're messing with me, man. And last but not least, Megasite staying steady at 1.2. Again, we expect this to come up slightly. I'd expect a price of 1.3. It's not an excellent buy-in. Volumes are still pretty steady. And we might see this dump before it spikes. If we expect people to cash out Megasite reserves like we saw here going into the Plex split, we might see another dump down to 115 before we get up to 130, sorry. And that might be a decent play to watch out for. I'd be watching the volume numbers here to get up to 125 million units on market, and then buy in, then wait for this to come back down again after the June release. Like, this is your sort of longer term play, is to aim for a 115, 114, 113 sort of price, and then sell out at aim for a 130 sell off. And last but not least, Morphite. Not a lot to say on Morphite. Volumes are staying pretty strong, which is nice to see. But supplies are just so hot right now. I think that this one's not a good one to speculate with the Rourke mining, because I really don't think Rourkes are mining much of the Macroxit. So like, there's not much to say here. And until either a big Tech 2 rebalance comes through, i.e. moon mining, or a big war breaks out, which again, I don't really expect. Things I think are going to stay pretty quiet here in Morphite, and I wouldn't be expecting the 10K sell-off we're aiming for anytime soon. Like, this is going to be quiet for a while. So yeah. Next, going to isotopes. It's interesting to watch nitrogen and oxygen slumping as hard as they are. They should be back up to 800 now with the Rourke nerf, and again, I expect less of the price increase to be coming from the yield nerf, and more coming from people saying, F this, I'm not flying a Rourke anymore. I think that it's going to drive the price up to 800, 820 perhaps. I don't know if I'd go all the way to 850, but it's not a bad chance to buy in here on the bottom of that market. It's risky because every day that we tick towards moon mining, I think that we're heading towards a 800 steady state. So yeah, it's a little risky. You got to do your research, but it's not a bad chance to buy in, especially on the oxygen topes, is where I'd be pointing my speculation. And then looking across the rest of the market, what's really got me is how healthy the fuel block margins are right now. They have been extraordinarily wide for the last few months, and I know I gave a bunch of shit about this a couple of months back when I got this graph redone, but the margins staying nice and steady and high here, especially on nitrogen fuel blocks, is pretty decent for the industrialists out there. And the Amar and Minmatar blocks are having extraordinary margins, considering, because so we expect all of the block prices to coalesce to a similar value, right? If you're running an EC or a Citadel, you're going to pick the cheapest fuel, and so it's going to all come up to the right, up to a similar level. The thing that I didn't expect is that the isotopes are still staying really low, which says to me that there is just so much of these second tier isotopes out there that there is a really great manufacturing opportunity here. And now that I've said it here live on the air, I expect to have completely destroyed that. So sorry, anybody who is using blocks as their moneymaker. But like, we're talking about some serious margin here, man. Like, I haven't seen blocks that good off since we saw the big reset back in March. Looking at strontium, not a lot going on in the sell prices or in the volumes. Buy volumes coming up a bit is a little bit of a sign, but like, let's be honest here. It's pretty easy to screw up the buy numbers. So I wouldn't put too much credence in this. I'd like to see us back closer to the 20 million units mark before I start talking about, oh, they're going to war. So yeah, let's see. Heavy water going higher, but I expect this to dump. So if you were holding on, 360 is your sell-off point. You should get off this track because it's going to get worse with the Rourke exodus. Next, outliers. Let's talk about outliers. Advanced materials. So, man, it breaks my heart. I almost want to drop this from the show. There's just nothing to talk about in the moon markets. Now, I'm being a little facetious. There's interesting stuff going on at the R16 level, but R16s are kind of always a little bit weird. So I don't know if those waves will move up through the system, but without anybody switching hands on stuff and without T2 being driven in PvP metas, like, this is stagnating hard. So like, if you're speculating in moon markets, and I know moon markets have been my favorite to tell people where to go make their first billion, I'm here to tell you this party is over. Like, I'd stay off of this market for a couple of weeks. It is cold. It is shitty. Check back in a couple of weeks. I would not want to keep holding positions here in advanced materials. Next, let's talk about T3. So, I had said last week that about some of the bets I would have made ahead of the T3 focus group. And where I had said to make bets was in the material markets, because I expect once the new mixes came out, that a lot of back product would start coming out of wormholes. There'd be some great volatility to start driving through this stuff as people speculate and counter speculate, and it was going to be a great chance to jump in the fray with none of the baggage. But Fozzie ruined my day there and said that a lot of the new balances are going to be done with new items from new drops, which breaks my heart again, which means that the best place to be speculating is in the reverse engineering components. So your melted thruster consoles and your the subcomponents there. And then in the hulls themselves, and rather specifically only in the Tech 3 cruiser hulls, as far as I can tell. So melted nanoribbons are up, which is good news if you're a wormhole dude who's been holding on to this, hoping that good times are coming around. 1.6 mil, I'd be trying to wind down out of those positions, though, because I don't know if you're going to get 1.8 or 2.0 without Probag Bear coming in and saving your ass. Next, malfunctioning thruster section. So this is another one that is down this week, but could be up. Again, it's hard to tell. They didn't say what we're going down to 4 sections instead of 5, but they didn't say what the conversions really were, or are we going down to 4 choices instead of 5? I'm not really a T3 guy, so I'm a little green on this. The mixes here are a good opportunity if you're going to go comb through the dev blogs and the summit notes this is a great chance to go do some research, make a buck. But these are the ones I've been watching personally. Moving on to ships, Gilas are poised to fall, so I'd be getting those 190 mil buy orders ready, maybe get down to the 188s. Supplies are getting really hot, stockpiles are backing up, and this tends to be rather cyclical, so again, an opportunistic buy order down here under 190 is where I'd jump in on this, and aim for a 210, 215 to get out of it. It's not a bad turnaround. You might have to wait a couple of weeks to get paid. But like, this is not a bad place to play coming into the summer, in my opinion. And then my favorite, do you know what's been coming up on the, on my Z Killboard numbers is the excavator mining drones, those Rourke mining drones. Oh man, this makes me so happy, to see those things dying in droves. Prices just keep going up, and I think these things are going to keep dying pretty hard. I'm sorry, Dirk. Dirk is correcting me. It's Gila. You want to go be buying Gilas. The excavator mining drones just keep flying off the shelves. It's a great chance to buy in at under 1.1 bill. Like so there should be a sell-off that might get us down to 1.0 or just under 1.0. Again, watching for the June release might be a chance to jump in, but like I'd be placing my buy orders. Like I'd be putting 2 buy orders. I'm putting one at this, 105 level where we're at right now and playing the front end of the curve. And I'd put something more of a backfill order down at 1 bill, or finding out where the floor is on that. Again, go to adam4eve.eu to go see the order depths live. I really love that chart. The opportunity here is kind of a couple different things. Is one, you catch the people throwing away their Rourkes, and you catch their cheap material. Great. Number 2, the Rourkes that stay around are going to lose these more often, so prices should come back up again. I'd be aiming for a 1.2, 1.25, maybe 1.3 if I'm really opportunistic. But like the real meat here is to do an active buy order where I try to get 1Z, 2Z here on the front of it. And then I put like a much larger 10 or 15 or 20 buy order down closer to 1 billion, trying to catch this fall. And then when it comes back up again, those are the 2 plays I would do. Another interesting one that came across the tools this week is the Council Diplomatique. Special edition asset is through the roof. Somebody is buying these things out, and if you have been sitting on a stack of them, like I might be, this is a great chance to sell off. I think this is going to crash down pretty hard, pretty fast, but I'm glad that my tools didn't miss this one like we missed the Leopard a couple of months back. All right, moving into prediction review, where we talk about the Tech 3 cruisers. I think this is going to be the best place to speculate in with the new rebalancing. A lot of this is already happening. We saw Loki's mentioned favorably for it wasn't dual tanking, was it? It was either like dual prop or dual tanking options, I think is what they had. And that spiked. Tengus were up, Proteus are up. Like, I think this is going to be definitely a watch the meta very closely, and play on the sentiment analysis kind of thing. The first order stuff unfortunately has passed, and I feel like a real asshole not saying ahead of time to put your money on T3 cruisers, because I played myself, right? Like, if it's obvious, you don't need me telling you about it here on the show. Like, if you read the dev blog, if you read the forum posts, you're already thinking Tech 3 cruiser rebalance is Tech 3 cruisers. I am smart, right? Like that's the number one thing. But like, everybody's thinking that. Every single person does that. It's in the fucking headline, right? Like, you don't need to have a data science empire to know that when they say T3 cruisers, they mean T3 cruisers, right? I was hoping to play the second order thing where we talk about the thing right behind it, where we use some of the industry stuff and we use some of the knowledge we know about wormhole rumors coming around. And then Fozzie just ruined my day about that. So whatever, it's fine. That's the life of a speculator, is you win some, you lose some. I still think there's opportunities to jump in on this, but I'd be really watching on the buy order side rather than the sell order side. So Legion's in a particularly nice spot to be buying in. Proteus is in a not terrible spot. I'd be watching for something closer to a 110 buy order personally. Tengus, I mean, there's a lot of Tengus out there, but they're some of the cheapest to jump in on right now. So if they don't get completely screwed, you might be able to gamble. Right now, we're more in gambling territory than we are in speculative territory, but, they took away casinos, so you guys got to get your jollies somewhere. And then in the T3 cruiser, in the tactical destroyer markets, again, I had expected the raw materials to fluctuate, and this was going to be another second order speculation, but seeing as we're not seeing anything in the material markets, we're not seeing anything in the T3Ds. So again, I'm eating all of the shoe on this one. So sorry about that. So sorry. And then we talked about this last week, that Viators had a big buyout and were crashing down in price. If you're watching really closely on this, we might see an overcorrection down close to 120 million. I don't know if we'll get buy orders quite that low. I don't have a zoom in on this handy, but the opportunity here is to, the thing I don't get is this sort of reads like there was evac or something, and I just didn't know about it. So I don't know why we spiked the price this hard, where we added 20-30% to the price. This is strange, and then we should expect industrialists to oversupply and knock the price down. I'd maybe put a buy order at 122, 122 million, perhaps, to try and slurp up some cheap stuff and look for a 1-3 sell-off, but 130 sell-off. But again, for all the shit I'm piling on Morphite and on moon mining, speculating in Tech 2 is a really dangerous place to be speculating right now. So I don't know how much I believe my own hype on this one. And last, and certainly not least, is our violence report. Let's talk about what has been dying. Excavator drones are turning up, and again, we expect this count to keep going up. The value destroyed is actually pretty astounding. To see 60 billion of these things destroyed in one day, it's gotta hurt. That totally sucks. I mean, you don't have to kill a lot of them to get to 60 billion, but otherwise, mix is looking about the same we expect every week. It's great to see the Thanatos back. We haven't been seeing that in the lists very often. Otherwise, the mix looks about the same. Talking about solar systems, again, the K-Space and Losec are leading the pack again. We've seen Anomalia and Tama still at the front of the pack with Jita. Camella at least is, I think, a staging system. I don't know where Camella is staging. And GE Tech 8 looks like some people might be harassing some goons with the Rourke mining. Like, I think this is actually a Rourke massacre is what's driving that. But like, again, sorry, null bears, like, you keep telling me you're preparing for war, but then you're not PvPing. You gotta get out there. Like, it's okay. You have all of that money. You can lose a ship or two. It's fine. It doesn't hurt. You'll get those great PvP shakes. Go out with a couple of your bros and like, give them what's for. Don't just do an F1 fleet. Go and roam and, get out there and snatch some cheap kills from people who aren't paying attention. And then last, bringing up the region counts. Black Rise leading the path. Catch just coming around this week. Pravi and Pureblind making up the back of the pack. So at least we're seeing null regions driving things. And bad day in Catch for for destruction this week. But like seriously, the kill counts are so low, guys. Just like you're supposed to be elite bad guys. Like go kill stuff. Get on the bus. Get hot dropped on something. Get those kill mail. Go and whore those kill mails, guys. Come on, you're supposed to be these great guys, these hardened badasses. You got to go kill each other. Remember what that's like. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap up the show. I have been your host, Lockefox. This has been the Eve Prosper Show. And if you want to follow us, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. I know that, again, this is one of our last shows, episode 99, and we're ending on 100. So I got to thank everybody who tuned in live. I will have a announcement out soon about when our final show will be. I would very much like to do this on a weekend so we can get both the EU guys and the US guys all under one roof, get those numbers out for a big blowout. But I haven't figured out that schedule yet, so that's on me. Do get subscribed. Don't hit that unsubscribe button because there will be more content showing up in the same places. It's just going to be slightly different. And I'd still like to do some office hours, just schedules have not worked out. So get subscribed, check out the show, and if you want to get in touch with me, the very best place to do so is on our Discord. Links to join should be down in the doobly-doo below. Oops, I can press the right button. Let's see. Last couple of notes. Oops. I am screwing things up over here. Anyway, last couple of notes. If you want to keep our services on the air in perpetuity, do consider dropping $1 in our Patreon jar. The Patreon closes at the end of June, and every dollar that goes in will go towards keeping our services running. That is our data services and things like our profit endpoint that power Eve Mogul and Adam for Eve.eu. It's like I said before, the guy at Eve Guides got screwed by PayPal, and thankfully we're in a position that shouldn't happen. But we need your support to keep that from happening. If you can't support us monetarily, that is perfectly fine. Do not just check into our show, but go check out other market shows from the likes of Rodin at Eve NT TV and DeLone Wolf at Eve Talk. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close up this show. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. We will be back soon, probably at some point next week. I've been your host, Lockefox. This has been the Eve Prosper Show, and I will see you all next week.